Speckle Park Commercial Register, we, as the original tech committee from many years ago, we put a proposal forward, and I think at the time we probably weren't ready for it. And I think if we don't do things like these now, opportunities might pass us by. So when I sat down to try and build a presentation, the first thing I thought of was, I'd heard this quote before from somewhere, so internet and Google these days, you can find just about anything by typing in a random question. And what I really wanted to say was, without data, we're basically just someone with another opinion. And there's a lot of things in the entire Speckle Park breed that we promote and talk about within Speckle Park that at the moment today are just our opinion. Yes, we see it day in, day out at home, we understand it, we know it, but without data to back it up, it's really just our opinion, and how do we market opinion? So we need facts, we need things to move forward. And within that, we're all here because we have a passion for Speckle Park. We know Speckle Park, we know what we like about Speckle Park. And what are the reasons why we believe Speckle Park is the breed? Why is it better than everything else? And that's a number of main things, and a couple of main points I wanted to push on was sustainable production. It's earlier finishing than a lot of other breeds. It finishes well on grain and grass. And then the things that we all talk about are feed efficient animals, feed intake. We have a moderate cow size that fits in a vast array of Australian production systems. We all talk about how fertile Speckle Park bulls are, how fertile Speckle Park cows are, their longevity. Docility is one thing that I think sets our cattle apart. There's been other breeds that have had struggles with docility over the years. They put a lot of emphasis on it. They've caught up a long way. And probably the big thing that we've seen a lot in the last 24 hours is eating quality. And Vaughan just touched on it through the competition, the concept there. It's one thing we've got. It's amazing. Chefs love it. But at the moment, that's a lot of opinion. So we do things like a competition. We create a data set to be able to promote that from. So the MSA eating quality scores, they look at tenderness, juiciness, flavour and liking of beef. We've done a lot of work over the years. When Paul Guy was on the tech committee, we did a lot of research on fat melting points and understood that Speckle Park do have a unique position in that. We're at one end of the scale. That's part of the reason why Speckle Park beef is so tender and juicy. Justin and Amy did a lot of work that we all saw on Landline a while back on omega-3 and fatty acid composition. So these are all things that are out there that do set us apart, but as we grow, we need to build that into data and do something with it. We hopefully all were participating in a member survey that came out a little while back. These are only preliminary results and understandings, and there'll be a lot more in-depth information come through these later on. But one of the questions in that was, would you utilise a commercial register? And we had 76% of those people have a positive impact on that. And a lot of people said, well, yes, but I want to understand what it is before I go and jump in and support something, which is a very smart way to act. What validates, do we need to do some work on validating what makes Speckle Park meat tender? Obviously, most people were pretty keen to do more work on that and have data behind it. Develop genetic tools to measure tenderness and eating quality in Speckle Park. Everyone's keen on that, which all makes a lot of sense. One thing a lot of people talk about, and there's some work in the background being done on developing structural EBVs. Understanding structure, feet, what makes bulls last, what makes bulls not last. So once again, very positive feedback on that. At the moment, we only have gestation length and birth weight, and you can have an early born calf that is small, that does not calve easy. So there's more in the whole calving space than just birth weight and gestation length. So we've got a lot of data on this, but we have a very, very small spread of data on this. So there's a lot of positive feedback there. Developing of frame scores, understanding our mature cow weights versus our growth and where do we sit, and understanding what is that sweet spot for feed efficiency. So, and net feed intake, that was another one, strongly agreed. Developing of docility. It's, like I said earlier, it's all something we understand and know, but we don't have the data behind it to move forward with that. Developing tenderness EBVs. Developing a genetic test to confirm the identity of GH carriers and where they sit within all this. So they're all things that we understand we need to move forward on and push forward with, but all of those things need data and need some way of backing it up. And I think of the time that many of us have been involved in the breed and what we've achieved so far in the breed. From where we came from, I know when we first started investigating, researching cows to buy, it was, to put it nicely, it was a crapshoot. There was pretty pictures and a couple of names on a pedigree. There was no information. For where we've come from that point to today is amazing. And you look through that, we started EBVs back in 2018. We've moved forward from there. In 2018, it was an absolute masterstroke by whoever was on the board at that time to create the policy that we all have to submit DNA, create SNPs, get that data. At that point in time, I'm sure they were only thinking about confirming coat colour, poll, myostat and those things. What's that ability that's given the Speckle Park breed today to have in our battery to move forward is amazing. If Angus and Wagyu did the same thing, like they'd be that jealous of us for what we've built for where we are today. And like Vaughan said, we're already the number 5th breed in Australia for our reference population. So moving forward in July 23, single step evaluation became available to our breed, which is well ahead of a lot of other breeds that are still only getting that now. And then January 2004, we released the 4 different breeding indexes. So we've come a long way. We've got a lot of information in front of us of where we're at. And I guess in that short time that Speckle Park have been around, where do we sit? Where do we fit within the greater industry? And this was a way that I and Heather made this look a lot prettier than my first version of what it looked like to try and understand. But what I wanted to show was I picked out 2 extremely well-known Angus and Hereford studs that are premier data collectors. There's probably no more accurate breed plan data than you'll find in those 2 studs in those breeds. They're sitting at 84 and 86% for Hereford and Angus on an animal that has genomics, has a full set of breed plan data within their evaluation, has single step. So that's where the absolute pinnacle is for an animal that's a ewe-drop animal today that's got 400-day weight. So these are the reliability of their 400-day weight, their accuracy. So that's sort of where the pinnacle is. Speckle Park today, I found a Minamara animal. I think we'd all agree that's one of the long-standing herds with a lot of breed plan data, so that'd be a similar vein to Waruna or Rennie Lee. They're sitting at 72% accuracy for a 400-day weight. So you go, yeah, that's behind. But you look at other breeds, Limos and Simmentals that have been in the industry for a lot longer than Speckle Park have, we're already in front of where they are. So we're there, we're not there yet, but we're heading in the right direction really fast compared to everybody else. I did a comparison on the database today. There's 125 animals that are over 85% accuracy on 400-day weight. There's very few females on that list. A lot of those are influential bulls that you would understand, but there's animals that can get there. So it is, if one animal can do it, it's all possible. And it comes down to this slide, which is good, bad and scary, and I'll try and promote the positive out of this. We've got a lot of animals, a lot of studs, a lot of members within Speckle Park. a vast majority of members are not breed plan members. So the only way to propel ourselves forward into the future is having data to back up what we're doing. Whether you believe or don't believe in breed plan, whether you use it as part of your selection criteria, that doesn't matter. The only way the whole breed moves forward, the only way breed plan data becomes relevant one day is if people support it and submit data. So within that, I think the most exciting part is right here, right now, today, there's 15 herds in the 4.5 to 5 star category in breed plan. And the best thing about that is 4 of those herds are now represented in the board. So that's never been the case ever before. So that's something that's extremely positive and probably shows the direction of where the board's at today and moving forward. And I think there's things behind why people don't want to be a breed plan member, don't support adding data in. They believe you need a bigger herd, you need big contemporary groups to be a member and support it. That's not the case. You don't get a massive benefit if you have smaller contemporary groups, you don't get a big variation, but your data goes in to help those pedigree linkages all across the breeds. We had very few animals each year drop, but we were very strategic in the bulls that we used and the genetic linkages of where they came from. And that's helped us immensely with the accuracy of the breeds, the EBVs of our animals at home. So you don't have to be big. There's an average of 11 head in all those herds, 350 herds that don't breed plan record or remember. So it's time for action, time to work forward. Where are we at the moment? We have an amazing ability to record birth weights. 80% of all calves have a birth weight, that's very positive, very exciting. We do well there. There's about 25% of breeders are breed plan members, but we have 35% of animals receiving a 200-day weight on average. So it sort of means there's a scale effect there of some of the larger operators are breed plan members and are entering a lot of data. And a very high 32% end up with EBV, with data recorded for EMA, all the fat scans and so forth. 30% of bulls end up with a scrotal score, which is very good. And these rankings, I don't have the exact data for other breeds, but I'm positive if you looked at Angus today and the way they rely on genomics, there's less and less big Angus studs actually recording data that gets into evaluation. So we're still ahead of a lot of other places. But the ones that we put up in the early part of the slides there are things that we call important to Speckle Park, and why Speckle Park has a place in itself is moderate cow size, docility. Less than 10% of us input data for those traits. So it's one of those things, it's there, it's a thought, we know it, but we aren't actually putting data in to create a data set to prove it. And net feed intake, obviously that's extremely small and we're less than 1%, but we do have 3 members in the process of having grow safe systems. We saw those that were lucky enough to get to Paul Meads yesterday, saw the setup there. So Speckle Park is very heavily involved in that space compared to other breeds and has a great opportunity. So I guess what I've tried to build in all those slides so far is a commercial register. Why do we need to do it? What's the point of it? And the point is trying to get access to more data from animals that we don't currently have access to. Now, we all run cows. Not everybody has 100% stud herd. People run commercial cattle with their stud herd. People sell bulls into commercial herds that have very good data recording systems that run animals right through to slaughter from birth, and there's traceability there. So today's beef industry, when you talk to processors, you talk to chefs, it's a data-driven industry on reliability of product and getting the same product day in, day out. Data traceability, if you look across all parts of the industry, is very important. if we have a commercial register, we can build traceability in those supply chains and so forth. If you can prove to the vendor, here's this load of steers, here's the traceability, here's all their individual weights, here's pedigree data, you can back up and build a story around the product you're selling. One thing a commercial register can do is help us create value in purebred registered cattle, which that's a very important part of this. We are talking about a commercial register, but the whole idea of that is to build the breed and build the backbone of the breed, which is the purebred animal. So that is not one thing we want to lose sight of. We want to get access to new traits and new opportunities in research. We just talked about a meat eating competition. We have samples of animals that are commercial animals, that are F1s, F2s. Presently today, we can't do anything with that data out in a whole big picture piece. So having a commercial register gives us that opportunity, gives us opportunity to be involved in industry research opportunities. Branded beef traceability. There's a couple that came up in conversation with Justin and someone last night about 2 sheep operations that have a massive stranglehold on the sheep meat piece of the world, and one of those has done an amazing job on a traceable ear tag system. This is a way we could create a backbone and a data set to allow that to be possible, and nothing to do with the commercial register happens without a purebred analysis and a crossbred analysis, sorry. So we've currently been, up until a month or 2 ago, we've been a purebred analysis. We've just been our own little piece of the puzzle. To bring in an F1 Speckle Park into an evaluation, you need to be a crossbred analysis and work across breeds like that. So when we look at the MLA projects that Vaughan touched on earlier, we can build into those into the future.